Good Monday Makers, and welcome back to another episode of MakerPipe Monday. In this week's build showcase, we're going to be looking at an Argo Basket and flip-up hunting blind panels, a temporary paint booth support structure, bin storage shelves, a Trike Canopy, and a summer kitchen greenhouse. All kinds of great builds as always. Let's jump in and check them out. First up is this Argo Basket and the flip-up hunting blind panels, and this comes from Dale. And here is the Argo with the custom rack. You can see they used flanges and then a lot of MakerPipe T connectors to build this basket that mounts to the front of the Argo. I believe that's the front, the front of the Argo, which allows them to carry gear, whatever it may be, on the Argo, which is super cool. And here you can see in this picture they painted it and gave it a nice green paint job, which looks really awesome. And then it just attaches to this, I think it mounts to the front kind of grill guard up here, like the guard in front of the winch. Is that a winch? It looks like a winch. This grill guard up here, as well as I think the flanges are made to, or they're going to use the holes in the flanges to bolt it, which is a good idea. And then they also made these flip-up hunting blind panels, which is really cool. So basically they have this hunting blind that kind of sits down in the ground, kind of like a dugout in baseball. But basically they built these panels just using, looks like a mixture of T connectors and 180-degree connectors to make these panels, and then they mounted those to the base of the kind of front deck railing, if you want to call it that, with the adjustable angle flanges. And then I imagine they just left the two base pieces of the flange just kind of spread apart a little bit before mounting them to the wood there. Looks like they used a bolt as a spacer just to kind of get the spacing right. But really, you could potentially get a longer bolt, and you can make this where it hinges like they did by just leaving these two pieces apart, instead of securing them as tight as possible to the wood, which would squeeze down and kind of lock this angle in place. You can just leave it a little loose and then separate the flange pieces a little bit, which allows you to hinge it, which is exactly what they do, to be able to fold it flat and then, of course, flip it up whenever they want the cover here in front of the blind. So that's super cool. Great builds from Dell. Thanks so much for sharing those. Next up is an inflatable paint booth support structure. This comes from Scott's Rides on Instagram. He does all kinds of really cool restorations and cool things with cars that he's doing on his Instagram page there. And recently he got an inflatable paint booth for free, but was kind of worried about, if the power goes out in the middle of a paint job, then that booth is just going to fall down on the cars. So somebody in his comments recommended that he use MakerPipe, which is really awesome. And he got some mini connectors and basically built this structure to support the inflatable booth, as we'll see here. Basically, he built just kind of like an interior skeleton of the inflatable booth, and of course he used 3/4 inch EMT conduit and then MakerPipe connectors. He used mostly 135-degree connectors, as you'll see here, just to kind of get the angles right to go up, and then do the roof like that, just to kind of make the skeleton just matching the shape of the paint booth, as we'll see here in just a second. And he started putting it together, just got some horizontal pieces on the ground, and he did kind of some pre-assembly on the connectors, which is always a good idea. We always recommend that you do that if you're capable of doing that ahead of time. It kind of makes building go a lot faster. But here it is. There's the structure, and then here it is inside of the paint booth. It looks fantastic, and like I said, just kind of an interior skeleton, matches the shape, and then here he was testing it to see how it would hold up with the paint booth deflated, because that was the whole point of it. It's kind of a safety measure, and it looks like it's holding up great, which is really awesome and a great idea. And he's building the 65 Mustang right now. He's going to be painting it inside of there, so that's really cool that he was able to use MakerPipe and Conduit to kind of help him in that process. I love Mustangs. My dad came home from the hospital in a 65 Mustang, so I always love seeing old Mustangs. But yeah, super cool, Scott. Thanks so much for sharing that, and definitely check out his Instagram. Next up are some bin storage shelves put together by Steve, and this is really awesome, and this is a great use of space and just a great utilitarian build to make the best use of space possible and organize some plastic bins and things, because otherwise you'd be stacking these to the ceiling. But trust me, I've got a storage unit, telling my brother's storage unit, it's full of these plastic bins, and there is no shelving in there. They're just stacked to the ceiling. And the other day we needed to get something out of the very bottom, and you have to take all the bins off, and that's super frustrating, really annoying, and everything just becomes a big mess again. So This is really smart to allow you to organize things easily, and basically just used a big mixture of 90-degree connectors, 4-way connectors, 180 degrees, see some T connectors in there as well, and basically just built a support structure for these pieces of plywood, and even match the angle of the roof there with adjustable angle connectors, and just built this really large shelving unit that allows them. It has different aisles to walk in and get things, and organization like this is just super awesome, and it's just a great use of space, and really makes life a lot easier when you have a lot of stuff being stored. Maybe it's Christmas decorations, different seasons clothes, or hunting gear, whatever it may be. All kinds of different stuff you could be storing, and instead of just piling it in an attic or something, or just stacking these bins to the ceiling, made this storage unit or this shelving unit just to make it a lot easier to be more organized. So really awesome, Steve. Thanks so much for sharing that. Really love seeing it. Next up is this Trike Canopy from John, and this is a really simple project, but really great. Basically, it has this recumbent trike. I guess that's considered a recumbent trike. It's a trike nonetheless, and they built this canopy for it. And I like this a lot because they basically used 3/4 inch EMT conduit with yellow shrink wrap from MakerPipe to build the framework, and it matches the color of the canopy. And it's secured to the trike using the parallel clamps that we talked about on the channel a while back. At least that's what it looks like to me. It looks exactly like those clamps, and those are hose clamps for engine bays. And I'll put a link at the end of this video on the screen so you can watch that video if you're interested. But basically, it's just a hose clamp made for like engine bays and things like that. And basically, they use that to mount the conduit frame to the trike. And then from there, it's really simple. It just has the verticals that go up attached to this rectangle up here. We don't really see the framework, but I imagine just a simple rectangle like this, it's got to be T connectors in the corners just to make a 2D rectangle. And then I think I see some of the fabric clips, which is clamping the canopy material, the sunshade material, to the framework. But nice and simple build. Looks awesome and gets the job done. And I'm sure we've heard from other people in the community, a lot of accessories for these trikes and recumbent bikes are really expensive. So I imagine they were able to save some money, which is always awesome. So thanks so much for sharing that, John. Love seeing it. Next up is this summer kitchen greenhouse, and this comes from LKB, and I like this one a lot. So basically they have this beautiful house. They have a summer kitchen out back, as you can see here, which is really awesome. And like I said, a really beautiful space. And they utilize the concrete countertops and basically built a greenhouse on top of them to use during the winter, I think, for their tropical and citrus plants. As you can see, there's some bushes, or I guess maybe trees back there. And they built this greenhouse to support those. It's got some cover from the roof of the house. And basically, it's just a simple framework made with 3/4 inch EMT conduit and MakerPipe, basically 9-degree connectors in the corners. They've got T connectors for bracing halfway down. They used, I think, T connectors again to make the pitched roof. And they used some T connectors just to add some bracing up to the roof peak, and then just repeated that same thing on this side. And you can see it just kind of sits on top of the countertops here, and then just protects things inside. They've got some greenhouse plastic secured to it. Looks like just using some of the clips, like paper clips. Not like paper clips, but you know what I'm saying. I forget. I don't actually know if there's a technical name for those or whatever, but there's those like black filing clips, whatever they are. You can see them there. And I think they said they put this up quickly and take it down easily. So maybe they live in an area that doesn't get frost a lot. So they just have to put this up whenever it gets really cold. I know we're about to get some of that this week. But really great idea and a really great use of space and just an awesome build all around. So thanks so much, LKB, for sharing that. And thanks to everybody for sharing your builds. We always love seeing what you guys are making. You guys can post in the community. You can send your builds through email, post them on social media, and tag us. There's all kinds of different ways, and we love seeing your builds, so keep them coming. Really appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.